Hello everyone and welcome to Nocturnal Horrors. My name is Sean Mazerall and I figured now that I put out my top 5 favorite macabre films of 2021, I figured we could look at some of the more disappointing ones. Now this is not a worst films of the year at all. I actually did enjoy some of these films that we're going to talk about, but that doesn't mean they weren't disappointing. If we were going to discuss the worst films of 2021, I might look towards something like, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, or M. Night's Old, things like that. But these are not here because they were not disappointing, because I never thought they would be good. I do get into some minor spoilers here throughout this video, so I have created chapters for each film I talk about, so if there's one that you haven't seen yet and you want to skip on through and keep going. Alright, let's go. So I only have 4 films that truly disappointed me this year. But I do want to talk about this one just for a second, Nightmare Alley. I wouldn't call this a number 5, but maybe just an honorable mention, because I did really enjoy Nightmare Alley. I gave it a 7 out of 10, but it's Guillermo del Toro, so the expectations are so abnormally high, and in his grand canon, this doesn't really come up anywhere near the top of the list for him, so it is kind of a disappointment for me. It doesn't hit Pan's Labyrinth, Devil's Backbone, or Shape of Water, and for me, that's a letdown. That's disappointing. I don't not like Bradley Cooper. I think he's a great actor, great director, but I would have gone with someone else for this main title role. And of every single person that was in this movie, he's the least interesting person to me. I wish Nightmare Alley was kind of like the Marvel Universe. I wish that Willem Dafoe had his own movie, and David Strathairn, and Richard Jenkins, and of course, Toni Collette's character is incredible. I wish they all had movies. I would have rather watched their movies than Bradley Cooper's movie. I'm sorry. But I still really enjoyed this movie, do not get me wrong. But I do think there was a lot more fascinating stories to tell within that universe that we didn't really get to see enough of. Number 4, Malignant. Probably the hardest part of doing a video about your most disappointing movies of the year is that you gotta watch them again to make sure they are actually as bad as you remembered. Because these are based on your own expectations, so maybe if your expectations are a little bit different on the second viewing, you might enjoy it better. 'Twas not the case here with Malignant. Honestly, I didn't like the trailer, I hated the CGI stuff, and at no point was I like, this is going to be amazing. But it's James Wan, and he's earned our respect, and you don't turn your back on someone who has done a lot for the horror community. But I don't care how many people say this is one of the best original horror films in recent times, and I don't care if people say this is going to be an absolute cult classic in the future. This movie remains silly, and yeah, it's kind of fun for a little bit, but most of it is still boring and stupid. If someone makes an homage to certain films, whether it's the body horror or the giallo or the slasher, it doesn't just magically make it awesome. The only good thing about this film in the first watch for me was the score and of course the police station massacre. The best part of the second viewing of Malignant was doing the pause play to have some good laughs, and also saying boring things and making it seem like a huge deal. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Let me show you. Example 1.
Sydney, I'm adopted.
And then of course, I had to do it myself to see if what I was thinking really held up. Take a look. It's been like 3 weeks since I've pooped. Yep, still works. You know what's really annoying though? When the filmmakers think we are so stupid that they do the same exact kill in the movie twice, just from different angles. That is lazy. I don't want to hear any reasons why the director or the editor may or may not have done this on purpose. It's L-A-Z-Y, lazy. Needless to say, for everyone who enjoys this film, I'm glad. I love that you love it. That makes me happy. And for those of you who think it's kind of moronic, I'm with you. Number 3, A Quiet Place, Part 2. Again, I am so happy when people love these films, but I gotta say, this one was not for me. I read and heard a lot of people saying how tense this film was, and the suspense was really something. And I just did not feel that in any way, shape, or form. I can honestly say I felt none of that. Well, almost none. My favorite part of the film is like the first 12 minutes or so. I loved seeing day one. I loved seeing John Krasinski's character as well. And then we enter day 474, or whatever day it was, and it was all downhill from there for me. I never felt anything for Cillian Murphy's character. The supposed tense sequences were very obvious, and I never worried about any of the characters. You knew at some point there was going to be a sequence where they forgot to use the towel to shut the door. That was set up plain as day. The subplots and the characters' actions are not at all intriguing, and the whole having a baby in their predicament still bothers me from the first movie. And Baby in a Box is silly to me. Baby in a Box. Maybe that should have been the title. Baby in a Box. What really aggravated me was the boat dock sequence. The filmmakers had a great chance to instill some real tension there and make matters worse. They set it up with the whole, quote, "you have no idea what people are like now" shtick, and then they completely let our protagonist off the hook. It was just too easy to get out of a situation that should have been absolutely harrowing. They just let him off too easy. I loved day one, I hated day 474, and everything after. It was just boring to me. It was not intriguing, and it didn't feel tense in any way. I just didn't feel it. Number 2, Halloween Kills. Now, I did already do a video about this movie, but we can get into it one more time. I know that there are some real suspect Halloween films out there, but don't expect me to sit down for a Halloween movie and just expect a slasher. I'm sorry, but when one of the biggest names in all of horror graces us with his presence, I expect more. I expect a lot more. I don't expect some transcendental phenomenon every film, but just being a slasher isn't good enough for me. Some people love this film. Some people hate it. I think it has some amazing kills and gore and violence, but everything else in this film is kind of crappy. I can't stand that they have Jim Cummings in this film. I'm sure he loved being in it, and I get that, but Jim Cummings is a whole other beast, being absolutely amazing in what he does as an actor and writer and director. Jim Cummings, unfortunately, takes me out of the film. If you don't know who he is, then I'm sure it's fine. And I'm sorry, Evil Dies Tonight is really stupid. I cannot stress this enough. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I am not joking when I say I had absolute deja vu listening to Tommy Doyle rally the troops. Tommy Doyle is Gaston rallying the troops to kill the beast. It is uncanny. This should have been Haddonfield the Musical, because that community really should have broken out in song. This is what I see and feel when I watch Halloween Kills. Both times.
We're not safe till his head is mounted on my wall. I say we kill the beast.
Number 1, Last Night in Soho. Of all the films that were coming out this year, this was my most anticipated. I love Edgar Wright. I love his films, and I was so eager to see this film. I didn't watch the trailers. I wanted to stay completely in the dark. I love the first hour of this film. I love our innocent protagonist, her small town outsider thing, and her little extra sixth sense. I love the music and the dancing and the vibe it creates. I love Matt Smith, who I think is such a unique actor. Have you seen him in Lost River? I love the charismatic mysteriousness of Terrence Stamp, and honestly, who doesn't love Anya Taylor-Joy? What's not to love about Last Night in Soho? For the first hour? Nothing. Nothing is not to like. It's amazing. I love this first hour so much, which again is why this film breaks me so harshly. It hurts me that I only like the first hour. I feel like it created an absolutely special cinematic world that started to burn in a fiery blaze, starting with those rubbish CGI ghosts. Those ghosts took me out of the film. Everything that Edgar Wright created in that first hour was diminished by those silly CGI ghosts. And then all of a sudden, I was snapped out of the mesmerizing trance that I wanted to stay in. And then it all came crashing down. The mood and tone completely changes. I started to see other moments of movies in the final third of Soho, whether it was the multiple Basic Instinct shots or the shadowy presence behind the walls that looked like that low-budget horror film, The Pact. And honestly, shouldn't Ellie be in jail with an attempted murder on her old roommate? Or did I miss something? How did she not go to jail? How is there no court date? How is there nothing? How is that roommate going to give a cutesy little wave? Whether she thought you were a ghost or not, she literally tried to stab you in the face. You know what else really bothered me? I love Terrence Stamp in this. The guy was in the middle of the road, though, having a conversation for what felt like an hour. That driver still hit him. Why didn't he just come to a slow, easy stop? How could he not have seen him? He just jumped into the road? Really? Did he? Or was he there for like an hour? Come on. I'm just pissy because that character was such a fascinating one. Now, if they showed one shot of maybe like the driver like looking down or texting while he was driving the car, then sure, we understand that he could still hit poor Terrence Stamp. But we didn't see that. So it's absolutely ridiculous that he gets ran over by that car. It's a film that uses just a touch of the supernatural to absolute brilliance in that first hour, only to do some ridiculous, over-the-top, CGI, ghost, corny, I don't know. It was a mess. The ending was a mess. So yeah, this one hurt me because I wanted to love it. I eagerly anticipated it. I yearned for it. I had high expectations for it. The highest of the year. And then as I sat down, I started to love it, only to be disappointed. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed this disappointing video for my sake. Please don't hate me if you don't think these films are disappointing. That's good. I know a lot of people love Last Night in Soho, In a Quiet Place 2. That's fine. Again, I'm so happy that you guys enjoyed it, but some of these just really hurt my soul at times. So, please let me know in the comments below, what films were your biggest disappointments? Thanks so much and have a good one.